Retrograde Mars in birth chart. Whenever you have planets retrograde, their influence in your life is more than regular planets, because retrograde planets are brighter in the sky. From the reference point of the Earth as an observer, when you see a planet going backwards in its orbit, then it's retrograde. This usually happens because planets move in elliptical orbits, and so at some point of time, it's always definitely going to be the case that Earth is going to be moving faster in its orbit compared to the planet. That's when it's retrograde and it's nearer to the sun in its orbit, nearer to the Earth in its orbit. Okay. When you have Mars retrograde in your chart, one of the primary things that your soul is here to master, to learn, and to get used to in this lifetime is that conflict is a way of life. You're a born warrior, but sometimes born warriors can always stay at a state of war with people around them. That is something that Mars retrograde people need to understand. Mars retrograde is going to push you to develop qualities within yourself at a faster pace compared to other individuals. Like with Saturn, you know how things don't move and you grow muscle by learning how to move those big, huge, heavy blocks. Okay? With Mars, the energy is different. With Mars is things keep coming at you. You need to know how to duck, where to duck. Okay, which direction to move in. You need to be nimble. Quite often, individuals who have Mars retrograde in their birth chart can be fit or can resort to some sort of sports or combat knowledge, guns, mixed martial arts, boxing, things of that sort. Quite often that can be the case. At a general level, however, you will often see individuals with Mars retrograde encounter circumstances in their life which have caused them to take decisions suddenly. And this can quite often, in fact, even give these people PTSD. I mean, every retrograde placement has its own problems. With Mars retrograde, I mean, for example, let's say you have Mars retrograde in the 8th house. Sudden events could have happened in your life. Suddenly leaving a place of residence. Things like that. Suddenly having to go to foreign lands, or maybe even encountering an accident or getting lost. Something may not have happened to you, but you may have been involved in one, in the experience of getting people out of there, saving people, things like fire, etc. All of these things, because Mars is the planet of action. He's the planet of conflict, all kinds of conflict in the world. Physical conflict, natural conflict. What do you say? Lightning falls on an apartment or destroys it, or a tree, something that's natural conflict. Earthquakes, tsunamis, that's natural conflict. So Mars represents conflicts of all kinds. For example, brushes up with animals, etc. Natural conflicts. What Mars people need to learn is that if you have Mars retrograde in your birth chart, and if you encounter such problems on a regular basis, or let's say if you're constantly scared, what you have to do is you have to understand that this is the energy that you're carrying around you when you have Mars retrograde. There is the energy in your aura, the excess energy. It's always present. And this is for every planet, not just Mars. Okay? There is an extension of your energy beyond just your physical body. The sooner you learn to master that energy, the sooner you learn to co-create with the universe and build whatever you want to build. Okay? When you have Mars retrograde, the energy of conflict, the energy of quick decisions, the energy of staying focused is always around you. It's always around you. What you need to get used to is you need to get used to applying this in the right direction. You need to start learning how to pick up the right fights, pick up the right challenges. Learn to go after the right things, fight for the right things. And I would say, in my personal opinion, please don't get triggered, but Mars retrograde, the worst placement that you can have for it is, in the 1st house, the 12th house, or the 8th house. Why? Because 1st, 12th, and 8th, these are 8th and 12th, these are houses where quite often we don't have any control over them. 12th house is the other dimension. 8th house is unseen. And in the 1st house, when you have Mars retrograde, it's just too much energy. There's too much energy to deal with. If you have Mars retrograde in the 1st house and your life's not going well, or if everything does not seem to work out, you need to have a fitness routine in place for at least 2 hours a day. You have to give yourself to something physical first to master this energy within you. Unless you do that, nothing else is going to happen. Don't tell me I do yoga, I go walking. That's not going to be enough. Mars retrograde can also give people a very militaristic mindset. They may not be in the military, but they might be very disciplined. They might like order, hierarchy. And you might be thinking that, these are things that are related to Saturn. No. Mars is armies. Mars is hierarchy. That's what Mars is. You have to salute the rank, not the officer. That's what Mars is. Okay? Mars is, we follow orders or people die. That's what Mars is. So when Mars is like that, and he's retrograde in your birth chart, no matter where he is, quite a bit of your life experience is going to revolve around these things. Hierarchy, listening to orders. You may have encountered emergencies in your life. You may well have played a lot in sports teams. It's quite possible, where you have to work according to a joint strategy. People often think that, Mars is a planet who is quite individualistic. He represents athletes. So, Mars prominent should point out more towards the person being solitary. To quite an extent, that is the case. But when you have Mars retrograde, there is a multiplication of that energy. What do I mean by that? When you have Mars retrograde, you are going to experience in your life, how do you have to stay part of a team? How do you have to act as part of a strategy? How you have to learn to rely on your brothers or let's say your teammates to achieve whatever needs to be achieved. And so Mars retrograde individuals can often be great surgeons. They can be great engineers also. They can be great in the military. They can be great in sports. And at the same time, quite often these people, they can be great fighters. They can be great people in the public eye as well. Influences, things of that sort. It's quite possible. Why? Because Mars is essentially the energy of conquering something. You can be anything with Mars retrograde. There's no, cap on this is what you can be, this is what you can't be. But the process of getting there, the experiences that you encounter in your life to realize whatever it is that you want to build are going to be more or less the same. Mars retrograde people are always going to encounter circumstances where they have to learn to catch up fast with the flow of life. It's a little bit like Rahu Mahadasha, I would say. And actually people do say that. People say that Rahu is more like Saturn and Ketu is more like Mars. In my personal opinion, my personal opinion, I think that Rahu behaves quite a bit like Mars and Ketu behaves quite a bit like Saturn. Ketu likes order, Saturn likes order. Rahu can be sporadic, Mars can be sporadic. Rahu requires you to build your willpower. Mars requires you to build your willpower. Ketu requires you to be strong and let go. Saturn also requires you to be strong. In my personal opinion, this debate can go on and on about the nodes, but I feel quite often that when you have Mars prominent in your birth chart, Mars retrograde or conjunct Rahu, a lot of your life experiences are going to be quite a bit similar to somebody, let's say, who has encountered Rahu Mahadasha in their life. The trick with Mars retrograde is always to learn how to stay in step with the flow of life. You have to prioritize your fitness, you have to prioritize your health, and you have to prioritize doing something that utilizes this, these mental faculties in working with aggression in a balanced manner, in a focused manner. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this short video about Mars retrograde. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel so that you can stay abreast of all the wonderful content that I post here. Push the bell icon so that you can be notified every single time I post. If you want a seat in my personal Astro Life Coaching Practitioner Program, where I'm going to be sharing with you how to be an Astro Life coach, applying the knowledge of Vedic astrology and life coaching together to help people, help them grow, help them expand, help them achieve their goals, including how to run a practice, how to deal with difficult clients, how to collect payments, everything that you need to know about being an Astro Life coach, a practitioner. Please check out the link given here in the description box. It's going to take you to the page of that course. You're going to have to fill up a form. Once I get your request, if your profile is shortlisted, then I'm going to reach out to you to fix a discovery call and we can take it further from there. Thank you. Hari Om.